Hey everybody, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from Santa Cruz, and I want to talk to you about some pretty exciting stuff coming up right now. We have some amazing changes in healthcare. Basically, we understand that a lot of our health problems are being caused by the toxins that we accumulate over a lifetime. And we now know how to get these things out of our body to such a degree that our body can become healthy and start functioning the way it's supposed to. Do you know that your body is supposed to heal? And all that we need to do is give it the information and take away the blocks of its communication so that it can actually do what it's supposed to. So this Saturday, excuse me, this Monday, July 27th, we are starting a 30-day detox program. It is a way for you to actually learn the key techniques on helping your body dump the load of toxins that are over the threshold causing chronic disease. And it's a very, very cool process. We've been doing it for years. We're starting the year healthy. We know that most people set their New Year's resolution on January 1st and they break it by the 15th. So we're starting it now on the 27th to give you a little bit of time to really reset your goals and decide what you want to do with your health. We know right now that there's so much information going on in the news about changes in the healthcare system, changes in the way we look at health, and what our own responsibility is to become healthy. And we're going to embrace this. The group of doctors that I work with have been looking at ways to help our body detoxify itself for years and years and years. And we've come up with some very workable solutions that are going to help you help your body detoxify. Now, on the 30-day program that starts on the 27th of January, each week I will be doing a Zoom meeting for you to get your walking papers for the week. You're going to be given a whole program of information online that you can follow through, and it's going to help you start to learn 5 basic parts of health. Number one, what kind of food you're putting in your body. So we're going to start to change the way that you are consuming food. And we're going to give you lists of healthy foods versus unhealthy foods. And this is going to help um, you decide, okay, how do I change my diet in order to actually improve my health rather than perpetuate this chronic disease and decline of my body and my health? And so you'll be getting lists, shopping lists, do's and don'ts. The first week, we're going to really be going over helping you take a look at what you are consuming and then throwing out the bad stuff and starting to know what to buy as far as the good stuff. And, basically, just to make it really simple, when you go into the grocery store, wherever you shop, farmer's market, of course, in the stores, you might pick up packages that have a whole bunch of ingredients on them. When you read those ingredients, there's more than likely going to be words that you don't understand, or different type of products or substances in that food that you can't pronounce. So do not consume these products. Basically, you want to start eating fresh organic foods, be it the healthy dairy, or if you have a dairy problem, there's probably a reason why. We could discuss that. Healthy organic vegetables, healthy organic meats. We're going to be taking you through various steps where you're going to learn what we call diet variation. Diet variation is when you eat different types of foods, different types of the season, so that your body can do what it's genetically designed to do, and that is to eat or to modify and regulate the microbiome in your gut based on the season. In other words, as Homo sapien was evolving over time, we didn't have a grocery store where you could buy anything that you wanted anytime you wanted. And now that's pretty much been the way it has progressed since World War II. The problem is not only are we getting genetically modified food, which I believe there's going to be a big move to do something about that in our country in the next few months, but also these foods are not from our own soil near where we live. So when you get these foods that are growing south of the border or in some other country out of our season, our microbiome don't really have the chance. The bugs in our gut don't have a chance to adapt to the different seasons that we live in. So we have 100 trillion microbiome in our gut, 100 trillion bacteria in our digestive system. We're only 75 trillion cells, so we're more bug than we are human regarding the number of cells. So these microbiome in our digestive system live and die based on the food we eat. And when we eat a lot of bad, unhealthy food, these unhealthy microbiome begin to proliferate in our digestive system. And then these unhealthy microbiome basically digest what we put into our gut and poop out toxins called mycotoxins. When we eat healthy food and we have healthy microbiome to digest it, we end up, those bugs poop out good nutrients that are absorbed into our body through the digestive tract. And then those get to the cells of the body and they nourish the cells of the body, the 75 trillion cells, which, by the way, are the only live part of our organism, are the cells. Those cells take in the nutrients, be it glucose, which is sugar, ketones, which are fat, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, everything that's manufactured out of what we put into our gullet, so to speak. So it's so important that we have the right microbiome in our gut. And one of the main reasons that we're so unhealthy is because of the microbiome in our digestive system. The things that we've allowed to grow by the unhealthy food that we've been eating for decades, basically. And right now, the United States is the most obese country in the industrialized world. Most of the stuff that we have in our foods that it's been approved and put on the shelves, other countries won't even allow in there across the border into their country. In fact, major manufacturing plants have to modify the foods before the foreign countries will buy it. What does that tell you about what they think about us and our health if they're putting more poisons in the food that they're feeding us than the rest of the world will allow? It's pretty crazy. So when we do the 30-day challenge, and by the way, my name is Dr. Duncan McCollum. I'm a chiropractor in Santa Cruz. And one of my patients came in and said, I hear you on the radio, but you don't say who you are enough. So I had a very difficult time finding you. So I'll try to tell you that, because you can join the 30-day challenge coming up. And you can call the office, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola, 831-459-9990, and say, hey, send me the link so that I can join into this program. You can also go to info@mccollumfamilychiropractic.com and shoot us an email. And throughout this 30-day program, we're going to be talking about various different steps necessary to help your body get healthy. So the first week, we're going to be talking about what to put in your body and what to eliminate from your body. We're going to be talking about healthy oils versus basically toxic oils that get into the cell wall and make it impermeable to vitamins and minerals and enzymes. And not only that, but it makes it very difficult for the toxins to get out of the cell. So this is a process that does take quite a while to rebuild the cell wall healthily. And you need to eliminate these bad foods that you've been eating, the fried foods that are cooked in things like canola oil and vegetable oil, things that you get probably at restaurants that actually get into the cell wall and make it pretty impermeable, make it very difficult for the cell to live a healthy life. So each cell in your body has something called a mitochondria in it. The mitochondria, there's millions in the cell. They're like the carburetor that actually keeps the cell going. When you put gas in your car, the carburetor or fuel injection system turns that gas or that fuel into energy. In your body, food is fuel, and that fuel turns into energy inside the cells at the mitochondria level. So when we're talking about eating the right oils then not only do we need to eat the right oils, but we got to eliminate the bad ones. But the cell wall, which I just mentioned, has to be made of the right oils so that nutrients can get into the cell and toxins can get out of the cell. Well, the mitochondria, which is also has a cell wall inside the cell itself, also has to have healthy components to it, which are predominantly omega-6s, parent omega-6s. This means they're not adulterated. They haven't been fried or gone rancid on a shelf and stuff. So we'll be going over the right way to do that. Then we'll also be talking about ancient healing strategies, about how you actually, what you should eat when. So we don't want to go on a diet and stay on that same diet forever. Your body does not like that. It wants to see change. It's called diet variation. So when you're going through this program, we're going to teach you how to basically allow your body what it needs when it needs it by utilizing its ability to function with diet variation. Some days it needs this kind of substance. Other days it needs this kind of substance. You give it the wrong stuff, it's going to get tired and exhausted. And it's also going to weaken your immune system, which is going to allow you to become chronically ill or have chronic inflammation in the body. So when your digestive system isn't working well, you get inflammation in the digestive system itself. You get inflammation in the large intestine. And when you get inflammation in the intestine, this area down here is not going to work well. Then you're going to end up with toxins because the inflammation of that large intestinal wall is going to allow bad substances into the blood system, into the bloodstream, that's going to allow those things to splash up against the cells, and then you get bad substances into the cells. So it's so important that we start to look at what we're putting into our body. So the 30-day program is going to walk you through each one of these steps. We're also going to teach you very shortly how to change what we call an eating window. So an eating window would be how often you eat throughout the day. We've been taught to wake up in the morning, have breakfast, then lunch and dinner. So we have food in our digestive system for the entire waking day and even into night. The thing is that when your body's digesting food, it steals energy from the other parts of the body. Like it will steal energy from your immune system, your cognitive function, your fight or flight mechanism, because when you're digesting food, we know that a huge portion of the energy goes to that. So when we shorten the eating window, what this does is it allows your body time to heal, because your immune response and your healing can't function as well when your body's digesting food. So that's going to be a really important point, is as we go over when to eat and when not to eat and how to shorten your eating window. And then we're actually going to talk about feast and famine cycles. So you're going to learn what a feast and famine cycle is. What is that? Well, some days you eat more, some days you eat less. And by doing this, the body starts to realize when it needs more of which components of the food you're eating. If you're just kind of eating all along and it never gets stressed out and you're giving it especially bad inflammatory food, it's going to get by, but it's not going to heal well, and it's going to create more inflammation, which is going to create more toxicity in the cells. So as we're teaching your body to go without food for a while, we call it an intermittent fast. These intermittent fasts can be 6-8 hours. We shorten your eating window to about 10 to 6 hours, somewhere in that range. Everybody's going to respond differently. So we have to take each individual and give you the indicators to find out what works for you. So over the first couple of weeks, we're going to start to introduce an eating window and have you start to modify when you put food in your body. You're also going to be putting good food in your body rather than inflammatory food. You're going to start to eat healthy oils rather than the inflammatory oils. So your body is going to start to generate more energy and heal. Now, almost all of us have leaky gut to some degree. Leaky gut is from the plethora of toxins that we've accumulated over time that have caused the intestinal wall to swell up and become inflamed. Your digestive system, your large intestine is one cell thick. So substances have to be able to be turned into good products inside the digestive system, like your large intestine or colon, the enzymatic activity that goes on in there, the microbiome that's breaking down the food stuffs, and then it breaks it into components that can be absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream, then distributed to the cells of the body, including the brain. So it's so important that we are allowing this process to happen. When we have all of the sugar that we eat, the processed food we eat, the sprays that have been on our food, the glyphosate that is put liberally on the food we eat, other toxins and fertilizers that we consume that are unhealthy, these also are going to disrupt the intestinal wall and inflame the cells in the intestinal wall. This breaks apart what's called tight junctions and opens up the spaces between the cell in your intestines, allowing larger particles to get out of your intestines into your bloodstream. So just imagine you've got only certain vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, amino acids, food substances that are supposed to get out of your intestines into the surrounding bloodstream to get to the cells and keep them healthy. Well, what happens when those holes open up a little bit? You get bad stuff into your bloodstream, circulating through your body, circulating through the brain, and splashing up against the cells and causing those cell walls to become impermeable or hard or resistant to things. You've heard of insulin resistance. Well, what is that? Insulin is the hormone your body uses to get sugar or glucose into the cells. When your insulin can't act on the cell anymore, they call it insulin resistant. And when you're insulin resistant, you're pre-diabetic, or it can become diabetic. So what do? The pancreas, which produces insulin for you, is going to produce more and more insulin, trying to push that sugar into the cells. Well, if the cell wall doesn't get fixed, the pushing power of your pancreas is soon going to be overridden by the fact that the medical doctor is going to have to give you injectable insulin in the form, well, or metformin or different types of things to help push that sugar into the cell. So the crazy thing is, if you just were to fix the cell wall and you knew how to do this, and we're going to teach you how to do it, then your body's going to be able to need less insulin to open up the cell and get the sugar in there. It's not just insulin. If you're insulin resistant, meaning insulin can't get into the cell wall, you're estrogen resistant, progesterone resistant, testosterone resistant, thyroid resistant. All of these hormones act on the cell wall, and they have to be able to attach to the cell wall to create the effect inside the cells. So 60% of the United States public are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. 60%. That's unbelievably ridiculous that we've allowed ourselves to get this way. So all of this news coming out in 2025, we're now realizing that you cannot medicate yourself out of a chronic condition. You can take all the pills you want, but it won't medicate you into a healthier condition. So it's very important that we learn how to teach our body to heal right. It's almost forgotten how, because of the system that we've been in, which is cover up symptoms with medications. Now, if you're on medications of some kind, don't stop taking the ones that you've been prescribed. But I will recommend that you start to take a look at the information coming out nationally on how to get your body healthy again. Now, we have been doing this for years in my office, working with many doctors around the country, trying different things so that we could figure out how to make the body as healthy as possible. And we found incredible ways to do this. So We're teaching it. We're going to be teaching the 30-day reset starting January 27th. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic. You can join 831-459-9990, info@mccollumfamilychiropractic.com. And we're doing this right now because it is the key time in our nation's history to learn how to take care of yourself. Because across the board, food industry is going to become more responsible for giving us healthy food. The thing is, you can't just start to eat healthy food and undo the damage done. We've been accumulating toxins in the fat cells of our body, in our brain, connective tissue, organs of our body ever since we got on this planet. And to be quite honest with you, a lot of these come 4 generations down through mom's umbilical blood. When our body gets too full of these toxins, then we become sick. And it's basically like when your cup runneth over, you are now going to get um, chronic conditions turning on. The body's going to stop functioning well. So I'm very excited about the 30-day detox we're doing. I just got done treating a lot of patients and I'm jumping on this call as quick as I can. Please bear with me, but I want you to get the data you need in order to be healthy. It's so exciting right now. The time in our history of our country, we've never had a better time to clean up our health than right now. So join with me so that we can help you do it. So we've talked about diet variation. We're going to be teaching you intermittent fasting, talk about the importance of eating the correct oils and how that is going to help your cell walls become healthier so they become more permeable. We're going to talk about eliminating toxic foods. Actually, we're going to even go into a 24-hour fast for those that are ready. And we're going to teach you how to do that. We're going to talk about eating windows and how to do feast days and famine days. Now, when we started teaching this back in 2017, when we really started to roll out the ketogenic diet before it was popular, we had found out the right ways to do it. But what ended up happening is a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon and a lot of information got out on the internet that was not correct and not healthy. People were doing dirty keto, thinking they could eat bacon all day long to get the extra fats and oils, and or not understanding that you had to have feast days and famine days. So many people go, I'm just going to do one meal a day, OMD, one meal a day, and that's the way I function. Well, it will work for a while, but pretty soon the stores in your body get depleted and you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to get sick. Your immune system is going to go down. And usually when people stop doing that, they rebound and put on more weight than they started with, and their health becomes worse. So any kind of sustainable health trend has to have variation in it. So for some people, this is going to work really well. Other people might need to do something more of a where we're starting to build more muscle, like we might do the carnivore diet. We'll be going over that later on in the year. But right now, the ketogenic diet is the best way for us to start our body healing right now. Why? Because we're in winter. In winter, and traditionally, we didn't have a lot of fruits. We didn't have a lot of grains growing. We were more eating the oil reserves that we put down, the rendered fat, the dried meats, and then the root foods and the nuts. So that would be a traditional winter food. And then when spring comes, there was something called starvation spring, where when you came out of your heavy winter, there was not a lot of food. So traditionally, the Homo saps would fast, and that was called, the fasting spring. And almost all religions have fasting in it. What it does is it clears the brain because it helps clear out the toxins in the body, the bad cells. It starts to slim down your what we call senescent cells, which are called zombie cells now. Because if you continue to just eat a plethora of foods that are out there, a lot of them toxic, your cells just kind of like hang around and they just stop working. And then they take advantage of the body and they just eat up fuel, but they don't do anything. Pretty soon, these cells start to basically become your enemy. They start to rot and they become unhealthy cells that can mutate into bad things. So as we're doing intermittent fasting, your body's going to scavenge the body and find those what we call senescent cells or zombie cells and use them for fuel. It's called autophagy. Auto means self and phagy means to eat. So under moments of fasting or fathom, your body's not going to kick the bucket. It's going to look around and eat up any unhealthy cells in the body, especially if you do this correctly. And it will basically help your body renew. It's going to take those unhealthy cells, break them down, recycle the good parts and burn the other parts for energy. It also looks for toxins in the body, and it's going to break them down and burn it for energy. This is why when people fast, they get a lot of mental clarity because the body is not having to put all that energy into digesting, but it's also on kind of stealth mode. It's going to utilize energy correctly. It's not going to waste energy doing things it doesn't need to be doing. It's going to become a very efficient machine. So we're really looking forward to helping people understand this. And then we're going to help you learn how to go through a cycle. There's three different ways to start this program too. There's the beginner, intermediate, and advanced diet plan that you will get. And the first week, you're going to decide which one you want to try. The last thing we want you to do is do too much and give up because your body wasn't able to do it. So we meet you where you are, and we're going to help you start off with a nice basic uh, detox program. And it's a 30-day program. Each Monday, I will be doing a Zoom meeting to get your questions answered from the previous week and give you a little more information so you can understand how the body is going to heal and function. So the 30-day program starts January 27th. Call 831-459-9990 if you want to be able to get into this program with us, or you can email info@mccollumfamilychiropractic.com. So I wanted to just make sure that you all knew about this. I've had a patient come in recently and told me that I had to give my name and address more, so I'm doing that, or my phone number and contact, so that we can be sure to have you included in this program. So one thing that we know is that the powers that be that are governing our body, that are governing the healthcare of our country are under scrutiny, and we are going to reset the way that we teach our citizens to be healthy. This is going to be a huge deal, and there's going to be a lot of information coming out right in line with what we're going to teach you. But you can get a head start by working through us with this 30-day program and change your health. Right now, we are 4% of the global population. We take 50% of all the drugs made in the world, and we're still rated 49th in the world for health, or 50th, right in that zone. How come 50 countries are healthier than us? Well, that's going to change. It doesn't change just by clicking your finger, but it changes by learning how to eat correctly. So we're going to, how's the old adage? We don't want to give you a fish, we want to teach you to fish, so that you can actually, at the end of this program, you will have some lifestyle changes that will help you make good decisions when it comes to eating healthy and changing your health. Out of this 30-day, there are several different directions to go. Hey, this helped me feel better. I'm doing well. I'm going to continue on with this. Or you can say, what's next? This is really great. I feel better than I felt for years. And we have a 7-week program that you can get into that really goes into the details of fasting and changing the way your body does things. And then there's also some of you that are going to go, man, I had a hard time on it. I just feel toxic. And we may need to help you figure out how to get your body to let go of those toxins at a greater scale. Remember, it's a lifetime accumulation of these. We are being inundated with heavy metals every day. Aluminum coming out of the sky, because it's been put into jet fuel to make it more efficient, is getting into our food source, getting into our body, and it is a pretty toxic substance for our nervous system. It's a neurotoxin. And not only that, but we've been accumulating aluminum over the years. It's put into a lot of the things that they put into your body to help your immune system, and those in such large amounts that it doesn't get out of the body. When you consume it through your digestive system, it's easier to get out than when you acquire it through other means. And those things, we can measure those, by the way. We can measure what kind of heavy metals are in your body. The bad ones are, of course, mercury, which is all of us pretty much have mercury, because that comes down through the dental amalgams, let alone a lot of the foods we eat. Then we're talking about lead. Most of people my age ate the paint off our cribs, and it was lead-based paint. That stuff accumulates in the body. Mercury, the number one symptom associated with mercury toxicity, the mental symptom is anxiety. Lead, the number one mental thing associated with lead toxicity is depression. So how many of our children have anxiety or depression? How many of the adults have anxiety or depression? Is anybody ever talking to them about looking at their lead and mercury level, or are they just giving them something to cover up the symptoms of the anxiety and depression? How long do they have to stay on that stuff? You can't medicate yourself out of a chronic condition, but you can change the substances in your body so your body can work well. Our bodies are designed to be healthy. So we want to make sure that our body is as healthy as possible, especially right now, because we live in one of the most toxic times on the planet. There's 250 tons of toxins dumped on the environment every year, 250 tons. That's terrible. Those things are getting into our water, our air, our food sources, let alone we literally spray our crops with all kinds of man-made pesticides and herbicides. We just found out last week that red dye number 3 was one of the foods that they put in so many children's cereals and candies and all these various things. And it's carcinogenic. Carcinogenic. We've known it for 30 years. Finally, it's being outlawed from our foods. But guess what? That does not take place until 2027. So even though we know it's poison, the food industry has 2 years to get it out of our food. So if you know something's poison, would you just keep doing it for 2 years, or would you get it out of your food source now? So it's so important that we help you understand how to read labels. What are the trick words that you're going to see on a label that may fool you into thinking it's natural? Natural flavors is one. When you see that, run. So we'll be going over that. We'll be going over how to read labels, how to properly absorb nutrients, why your body can't absorb them well. Most of the time, it's because your digestive system is not working very well. You might have the wrong microbiome in there, which are the bacteria that digest food for you. And each type of bacteria digests different types of food. For instance, there are certain bacteria that digest simple carbohydrates like, breads and sugars, grains. Then there's a different type of microbiome that digests vegetables, and then there's different type of microbiome that only digest fats and turn them into fatty acids that we need for all of our hormones. Different type of microbiome that will digest protein or meat. So all of these different types of protein prefer a certain type of food. The problem is in our country, most of us are filled up with the bad microbiome that just crave sugar, crave sugar, crave sugar. and you keep making your goal, I'm not going to eat sugar, but then you do and you wonder why. It's not this brain, it's the second brain, which is the brain in your digestive system and the microbiome. You have 100 trillion guys yelling, feed me, Seymour. They want simple sugar, and then they get satiated, and it burns like uh, putting a bunch of newspaper in your fireplace and setting on fire and expecting it to keep you warm. Those simple sugars turn to fuel really quickly, and then they're gone, and then you're hungry again. So when you learn to eat the right foods, and especially because we're going to teach your body how to consume fats correctly, we need fats. We've been avoiding them. We've been told that cholesterol is bad. We've been told to eat low fat diets. And what's it doing? It's drying up our brain, where Alzheimer's is becoming an epidemic because we don't have enough oils in our body to rebuild the cells, the cell walls, let alone our brain. So, and when we're insulin resistant, which means our cell walls aren't working well, then we can't get enough sugar into our body. So the insulin builds up in our bloodstream because the pancreas is working overtime trying to get the sugar in the cell, but the doors are locked. The cell doors are locked. So pretty soon you get a battering ram to try to open the cell door, and that is synthetic estrogen. Now you've got this condition, or synthetic insulin. So now you have this condition of too much insulin in your blood. Your body's only supposed to have so much insulin in the bloodstream. And when you get too much insulin, then there's a term for it called hyperinsulinemia. That means too much insulin in the blood. Well, what's the big deal? Hyperinsulinemia actually has another name. It's called diabetes type 3. It's got another name. It's called Alzheimer's disease. So the pre-diabetics and diabetics that are 60% of our country right now have too much insulin in their blood by definition. So if you just go down the traditional road, you're going to more than likely end up with brain fog and other kinds of things that diabetes type 3 turn into. And what we want to do is help you learn how to turn that around and get your cells healthy, because the cells, again, are the only healthy part of your body. The 75 trillion power plants. We think that when we eat food and our stomach's full, we're just feeding our stomach. We're not. We're feeding the 75 trillion cells. A lot of things have to happen by the time we digest that food. It gets into our gut. We chew the food and it gets into our gut. Then it has to be broken down into these incredible minor, tiny little molecules and been distributed to 75 trillion cells in our body. So when the system is broken, which it is with most of us, we end up actually almost starving our cells to death because they're not getting the right nutrients. So they kind of break down. They don't have enough energy. Then you have a whole society of cells breaking down. What do you get? Chronic inflammation. Chronic disease comes out of chronic inflammation. So this is a big subject, but the solution is not as hard as you think it is. We just have to start, draw a line in the sand, and then start to put the right foods in our body, start to learn what not to put in our body, what oils to start to consume, when to eat, when not to eat, what to eat during diet variation times. And then our bodies will start to recover. Because the most amazing thing about our health, is that we have this innate intelligence. The greatest physician who ever lived lives right inside of you. And we treat this thing well, it's going to do well. I imagine if anybody's ever had a garden before, there's been one weed that they could never get rid of. Usually it's growing right out of the middle of a crack in their driveway. And you get that weed and you pull it out and it grows back. You get that weed and pull it out and grows back. Might even spray some toxins on it. It grows back. Why? Because of the innate intelligence and the thrive to survive that is innate in every living creature. Every cell has a thrive to survive. And then we as species have a thrive to survive. The only thing is we're going through life in this country with two hands tied behind our back when it comes to understanding what health is. So I really encourage you to join us for our 30-day detox program. I'm really promoting this because I want you to actually make the changes that are going to help you get healthy. Now, out of this program, it's not something you're going to do forever. You're going to learn how to use it as a tool for various times out of the year that you're going to detox your body. You're going to stop eating certain foods, and you're going to allow your body to burn up what are called ketones, which is stored fuel in your body. And it's stored in fat. So fat are ketones. The issue is that that fat accumulates tons of toxins because our body can't digest, our liver can't get rid of enough toxins. So those toxins keep circulating in our body, and they'd make us sick if your innate intelligence doesn't store it somewhere out of harm's way. So when our liver gets overwhelmed, which it does because of the stupid foods we're eating, the sugars we're eating, all of the chemicals that we get, even the chemicals in the fruit sugar drinks that our kids are drinking filled with dye and very bad substances, then our liver is going to get plugged up like a clogged vacuum. Then our blood will not be cleaned like it's supposed to. So we have dirty blood circulating around in our body, splashing up against the cells, circulating through our brain, giving us dementia, brain fog, affecting the pituitary and hypothalamus. So it's damaging our hormone function. So we start this decline, and it can be any type of the hormone. So it might be a thyroid disorder. It might be a digestive dysfunction, which most of us, our digestive systems aren't working that well, even if we aren't aware of it. We're just, our digestive systems are a leaky sieve that are putting the wrong products in our body after we consume this stuff. And so we want to start to clean the body up. So again, this is a class that I've done for years. Prior to that big debacle that we had a few years ago, we were doing it in office every week. We're now going to do it online, and you're welcome to join us. It's going to start January 27th. We're going to walk you through 30 days of how to change your health. Now, I've had people on this, it's not about weight loss, but for a lot of people it is because they have so much accumulation of toxins that they're holding onto water. What happens when you take a substance that's poison? You have a few choices. Dilute it with water, throw it up, or get your stomach pumped, right? So when our body accumulates toxins, it oftentimes is going to retain fluids to try to dilute those toxins. So you're going to retain water. You're going to have a lot of edema in your body. And so in this particular case, we want to start to teach you how to get the toxins out of your body so it doesn't need to hold on to the fluid to detoxify or to dilute those toxins. Other times the toxins are stored in the fat cells, so your body is resistant to burning fat because there's so many poisons already that your liver can't get rid of. If you burn fat, then you're going to dump more toxins into the bloodstream, into circulation, and that's going to cause a problem for you. This is why some of those products on the market now that will help you lose 30 pounds in a month or something that is not done naturally, it dumps. Because remember, toxins are stored in fat cells. You're holding on to that fat for a reason. But when you take one of these things that they promote that's dumping all of those fat cells so quickly, a lot of people are getting really sick. Some people can get away with it, but the reason those people are getting sick is because the concentration of toxins in the bloodstream goes way up, and your body can't handle it. So you can get all kinds of different kind of things occurring. So there is no shortcut. There is no magic pill, but there is a formula to starting to turn around your body. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about also is in my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. So sometimes people like to follow along with this. We're going to talk about the correct food pyramid. what we've been led to believe is the right food pyramid, and then what is the healthy food pyramid? How should we be thinking about food? We're also going to talk about toxins in the body, and I already talked about your cup being too full. This is what we're born with, so many toxins that we get from the umbilical blood. As soon as that fills up and can no longer be detoxed out of our body because our livers are stuffed full of junk and it can't cleanse itself anymore, it starts to overflow into the bloodstream, now splashing up onto the cells, getting into the cells and making us sick. Not only in the cells of our body, the organs of our body, our brain, and then we start to get brain fog, fatigue. Um, some of those heavy metals get circulating in our body. They can affect all functions of the body and turn on genetic disease. So genetic disorders, by the way, are genes that get turned on inside the cell. So the 75 trillion cells, when you get a gene turned on, it will express that disease, whether it's an Alzheimer gene, cancer gene, um, multiple sclerosis gene, whatever it is. Those genes could go through your whole life and not be expressed. We have the same genes that we've had for generation after generation or generation. So if we have the same genes, how come a lot of us, like when I was a kid, 3% of the kids my age in the 50s had chronic inflammatory disease. Right now, over 50% of the children have some sort of autoimmune inflammatory disease. Same genes. Right now, we're the sickest country in the industrialized world. A study came out from Michigan University that said 80 million Americans have multiple chronic diseases. 80 million Americans. Now, that wasn't the way it was with my grandfather's age or even my parents. We are the sickest modern generation in eons. And we're probably the first generation that's not going to outlive our parents. That's been said because of the toxins in our food, the toxins in our environment, the wool being pulled over our eyes by what we're buying when we're expecting government agencies to make sure that we're consuming healthy things. And there's a Food and Drug Administration is going to be overhauled, and it's going to start to look at how do we make our citizens healthy. We're demanding it. The country has demanded it. Why do some countries not allow our cereals into their country until they've taken out 2/3 of the ingredients? Why is that allowed? Who's been allowing that stuff to be put on our shelf knowingly, where other countries don't like it or they won't let it in, but we'll consume it? Who's putting the pin mark on that saying that's okay? Well, the best thing to do, remember red dye number 3 got outlawed, but they're giving them 2 years to get it out of the food. So you're still consuming that. Yellow dye number 5, number dye number 6, blue dye number 1, green dye number 3. All these things are still in our food. And if you decide to wait till it just kind of trickles out of our food, then that's your choice. But I think you're much better off if you start to learn how to be healthy now, because you know what? We have one time on this planet, right? And don't we want to be as healthy as we can? We treat dozens and dozens of people with something called peripheral neuropathy now. Peripheral neuropathy is so prevalent in almost all generations, but particularly the senior generations. It means the nerves in your extremities, like your hands and feet, are basically dying. And that's because of the lack of nutrients and oxygen down to those parts of the extremities. Like it's not just the nerves that are dying, the skin is dying. If the toenails or fingernails are dying, the joints are becoming arthritic. The bones are starting to lose their calcium. This is the process of malnutrition and toxicity in our extremities that are killing our nerves. Almost all chronic disease leads to peripheral neuropathy. And there is something that you can do about it. We're being told that you can't do anything about it, and that the only thing to do is take medication to cover up your symptoms. So We're doing the 30-day detox program. It starts January 27th. It's just going to be a great bunch of information for you. It's going to help you take charge of your own health. And I hope you take advantage of it. Just call McCollum Chiropractic, 831-459-9990, or info at McCollum Family Chiropractic. And you can just say, hey, how do I join this process? So we have a couple minutes left. I want to talk to you about one of the best vitamins that you can take. And it's a lot of people don't know about it. They don't know where to get it, and they don't think it's very available. It's called vitamin G. Vitamin G, the best vitamin in the world, is called vitamin G 100% pure gratitude. This is going to be the main thing that's going to help you. So we have physical problems, whether it's the nervous system, the joints, everything that's been wearing out physically. Then we have the chemical compounds that I've been talking about quite a bit. This is what we're going to be working on in the next 30 days to help you learn how to get your body to eliminate these and recover from the overflow of them. And then the metal part is vitamin G. So you really want to utilize vitamin G. You can get some here. And it says the nutritional value of vitamin G. It may reduce brain fog, increase hormone optimization, balance the autonomic nervous system by upregulating the parasympathetic response, reducing oxidative stress and cellular inflammation, thus improving cellular function, increasing mental clarity, focus and productivity, optimize mitochondrial energy, increase the body's production of serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, increase happiness, improve sleep, and general likability. Vitamin G has also been shown to unleash your own innate intelligence, allowing the greatest physician who ever lived to do what it does best, and that's to heal you. Side effects, all of the above. So vitamin G is so important. If you don't do my workshop coming up on January 27th, at least do the vitamin G portion of it and find out who you're grateful for. Directions, hold bottle in hand every morning and think of 10 things you're grateful for. Sometimes you might have to just think of one thing you're grateful for. Then repeat often. Express gratitude to the first 10 people you see and repeat often. You never know how far reaching a small act of kindness may go. We have a lot of patients that come into our office every day, and some of them we always try to treat everybody with love and dignity, and we just want to make sure that people know that they're appreciated. We care about them. We do give them a bottle of vitamin G. By the way, the contents, 0 sugar, 0 fat, 0 protein, 0 calories, but it is 100% vitamin G. And it's BPA free, naturally sourced, environmentally sustainable. It's been animal tested. The animals love it. Gluten free, non-GMO, 100% organic ingredients, shade grown, harvested by hand, no forever chemicals, and packed with love. So that's the vitamin G that you will be learning about as we're teaching you how to live a healthier life. The 30-day challenge is coming up on January 27th. Join it, find out about it. McCollum Family Chiropractic, 831-459-9990, 831-459-9990, or info at McCollum Family Chiropractic, info at McCollum Family Chiropractic. Okay, so please join us. I think you'll enjoy it, and really appreciate you all. This has been kind of a impromptu talk because I'm in between patients, but I wanted to make sure to get the information you need to be and stay healthy, and we'll see you on Monday.